How you can take steps to become more private online. In the day and age where online privacy seems to be fading away rapidly, there comes a great selection of browsers, search engines, and privacy-focused tools that you can use to become more private online. With all of the dirty data harvesting big tech companies do to the users, and the ever-growing awareness of surveillance, I will give you some tips and tricks on how you can minimize the data being harvested from you, and help you minimize being actively monitored by your government and ISP today. It is not surprising to hear of Google collecting, storing, and selling your data on the web. All big tech companies try to tightly track and monitor their users, whether it's Facebook, Google, Microsoft, YouTube, etc. All of them know who you are, where you live, what you look for, etc., and they go on to sell that very information to third parties and advertisers. They proactively make you the product, when in fact you should be using Google Search as a product to get good search results, but that has not been the case for many years. So, what can you do to stay more private online, or at least minimize the amount of data being harvested and sold? Well, there are a few things you can do to stop both big tech companies, and your ISP or government, from spying and proactively collecting data from you. The first and most simplest step is to stop using proprietary software, as this is a big way data is harvested from you. Microsoft collects and sells your data through the very software you use, Microsoft Windows and Microsoft services, like Office, Teams, whatever. This is their way of harvesting data from you, the user, and think Mac OS or Chrome OS is any better. Think again. They are also active data harvesters that collect, store, and sell your personal information, so if this is of great concern to you, you should stop using Windows, Mac, or Chrome OS, and find a better, privacy-friendly alternative, which in this case is Linux. Regardless of the distro you choose, any distro is better because for one, 99.9% of Linux flavors don't have any dirty data collection tactics bundled into them, and for two, special distros like Tails OS, Cubes OS, Unix, etc., are specifically designed for privacy. They run over the Tor network, therefore hiding your real identity. However, it is advisable and highly recommended to use a VPN when using Tails, or Tor, as governments can red flag your activity as suspicious. Even if you're doing nothing of the sort, please use a VPN when using Tor. You do not want to set yourself up for extra hassle later on down the track. Linux might not be for everyone, but if you're capable of flashing a USB, and running a live system, you should be able to use something like Tails OS. The next step towards becoming more private is to ditch the search engine and web browser you are currently using. I assume everyone watching this video is using Google, because Google owns YouTube, and Google Search is known to be a big data harvester and seller, so stop using Google Search, or Microsoft Bing, and use a privacy-friendly alternative instead, like DuckDuckGo, which doesn't collect any personal information, search terms, IP addresses, etc., because DuckDuckGo bears privacy in mind, and privacy comes first. Other private search engines include SwissCows, Ecosia, OneSearch, and Brave Search, but others may exist as well. Finding a more privacy-friendly browser is also necessary, because Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, and Microsoft Edge are not at all private, because they too collect telemetry, so you should find a more privacy-friendly alternative, such as Brave Browser, LibBraveWolf, WaterFox, or for the maximum level of privacy, the Tor browser, which also allows you to access sites not normally accessible on the clear net. These sites are known as onion sites, which have the .onion extension, instead of the usual .com or .org. Another step you absolutely must take is to sign up and start using a VPN service, whether it's CyberGhost, Proton VPN, NordVPN, etc. A VPN is one of the best ways you can stay as private as possible, and VPNs are a great way to enhance other privacy tools like Tor browser, so that your government or ISP cannot see that you're using Tor, but a VPN also comes in handy for accessing geo-restricted content, or gaining access to superior services that lack features or functionality in a specific country. A perfect example of this is Australian Netflix. If you connect to an American-based server, you can gain access to the far superior American Netflix, and watch Hulu, an American-only streaming site. VPNs also hide your real IP address, and it will prevent websites, as well as your ISP, and search engine, from knowing your true location. You can use Google Search with a VPN, as this stops them from knowing as much about you. Tracking don't mean shit when you're using a VPN. However, I would still advise that you do not use Google Search, even with a VPN, as Google is very well known for their dirty data harvesting tactics. DuckDuckGo is a much better alternative that everyone should be using. If this is not enough for you, I don't know what is. Oh, I guess you gotta talk about encryption. Encrypting your hard drive, USB, SD card, etc., is also a great way to become more proactively private, but encryption is only necessary if you do not want others having access to your hard drive or storage media. But it's an extremely useful measure to prevent people from seeing what you have on there. It helps prevent your data from being stolen as well. Encryption is a key element to stop people who have stolen laptops from being able to access the data on there. So if you often take your laptop with you and often leave it unattended, you really should consider encrypting the hard drive, or SSD. Another step you can and should take is to practice clearing your search history every time you stop using your web browser. Sure, your ISP keeps logs of your search history, but it's still wise to clear it, especially if you have been consuming naughty content. Do you really want somebody seeing that you were searching for a very rude picture of someone? Most likely not, so get into the good habit of wiping your search history, and make sure the search engine you use does not keep a separate copy of your browsing history. Some search engines will tell you if they keep your history or not. As for the private ones, you don't need to worry about this so much, but I would still advise you get into a habit of wiping your browsing history every time you're finished using your browser. Finally, the last step you should take to being more private online is to not do any form of sensitive tasks on a mobile device. Because your Android or iPhone is nowhere near as secure as you would think, hackers can easily gain access to your system, and then see your sensitive info, such as bank account details, your various accounts for various services, etc. Do you really want to be faced with that? No, I guess most people would not, so stop using your phone for internet banking, and if you are going to do something like that, contain it all in the one device. Do not do banking on multiple devices with multiple browsers, do not use social media on more than one device, and never put all your eggs in one basket, as this is a big way hackers can steal passwords to multiple online accounts. Never ever have all your eggs in one basket, try to keep things as compartmentalized as possible. Even Edward Snowden advises against using mobile devices for such things. He even went as far as to recommend you use what's known as a burnable phone, which basically means that it's a phone that's never ever been registered to a mobile carrier network, and that phone is to only be used for certain activities. You do not log into online accounts of any sort on these types of phone. Never. And if you want to use Tor on a phone, please do not use a phone that's registered to your mobile carrier, as this completely defeats the purpose of using Tor. Only use Tor on devices not associated with a real-world identity, obviously. While these are great steps to minimize data harvesting, please remember that you can never ever be fully anonymous in this online world. However, you certainly can take actions to minimize the amount of data being harvested from you, and you can minimize government monitoring to some extent. But the ever-growing sophistication in technology to crack down on privacy tools is becoming greater than ever before, and how's this for creepy? The ever-creeping push towards fascism all over the world is also what's taking our online privacy away. Way more places are likely to introduce laws that ban the use of Tor and VPNs, or at the very least, heavily regulate or restrict those tools, and every big tech company is trying to tighten their grip on our online data. Microsoft now controls everyone's data, well, everyone that uses Microsoft products and services. Microsoft revealed this in a recent article talking about how they collect, store, and sell your data, and now they have the ability to do whatever they want, whenever they want. With all that personal info you shared with them, Google will likely follow suit, so will Apple. It's inevitable. Online privacy is no more. But, do not worry, because I am here to guide you on how you can be more private. By taking some very simple and basic precautions, you can help stop both your ISP or government, as well as big tech companies, from tracking, monitoring, storing, and selling your data. One way users often hide themselves is through a virtual private network, VPN. A VPN can provide users with a lot more privacy, because their real location is hidden once they start using a VPN. Do not believe the bullshit that says VPNs are not private. They are one of the most private tools you can think of, and yes, there has been some dodgy companies who sold their users' data in the past, but not every company is like that. Proton, for example, have a very strict no-logs policy, which most other VPN providers have as well. So if that's the case, how can VPNs not be private? Sure, tools do exist to see past them, and sometimes, your VPN may accidentally leak your real IP address, though a kill switch should always be enabled to prevent this from happening, especially if you're using Tor browser. You do not want your ISP and local authorities knowing that you're on Tor, because they can keep tabs on you and use that specific evidence to find you guilty of a crime, regardless of whether or not you actually committed any criminal offense. Don't give the cops a reason to come knocking on your door. A VPN is great and all, But there are also other things you must do if you want to gain some extra privacy online, one of which is to stop using Google Search or Microsoft Bing, and instead make use of a private search engine such as DuckDuckGo, SwissCows, OneSearch, etc. All of the methods mentioned are a great way to become more private online, so you can worry less about data being harvested from you.